And good day. Welcome to Queenship's Bible Study. And we will be continuing on our conversation from this morning. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I realized that I didn't explain the woman's spiritual virtues and spiritual duties. And give me a moment while I make a few posts. Sorry for those on Instagram. There's a bit of a delay. There's a few second delay on Instagram. So today we're going to be talking about spiritual virtues, and then we're going to be touching up on different different women of virtues and different sacred texts. Now, I've noticed that many sacred texts they all align with the same story. So there is the Japanese sacred text where it brings up these two deities, and the story that they tell sounds like the Big Bang Theory. It also sounds like the story of Ra, Newton, Caleb, Isis, and Osiris, and Harut. And that's the Japanese text. The Japanese, or Japan, is a secluded island. So we either had settlers, travelers, people who came from one country and they spread out and they shared the same story, or what else could explain that there are different countries that are separate from other countries that have the same story. And I'll be just a moment. And then you have my undivided attention. I seem to have lost a piece of content. Pardon me. I'm gonna hold my ducks in order. Okay. So, continuing on from morning, we spoke about virtuous women. We touched on Proverbs 31 woman, and we touched up on Surah al Hazal, and in the Quran it had brought up spiritual virtue and duties, and I wanted to touch up on what that may mean. So, okay. A woman or wife's spiritual virtues and duties often center around several key qualities. Now, this is from the Bible and the Quran. Wisdom and kindness. She speaks with wisdom and kindness, reflecting her godly character. Love and respect. A virtuous wife loves her husband and children, honoring them through her actions. Submission. She submits to her husband respectfully, recognizing his role as the head of the household. Diligence. A strong work ethic is essential. She manages household affairs wisely and works diligently. Her trust in God guides her actions, providing strength and hope in challenges. So I need to, okay, again, some sound. Want to make sure that y'all can hear me because my sound needs to be turned off for the introduction. Just making sure everything's working. Okay. Now in the Quran, we have obedience and faithfulness. Now I know a lot of women get turned off when mentioning that they need to be obedient, they need to be submissive. But I hear some women saying that a man needs to tame them. That's the same thing. A man needs to be able to put her in a place. That's the same thing. You can't want to be put in your place and not want to submit. It's an oxymoron, it's contradictory. So, obedience and faithfulness. Righteous women are described as obedient and protective of their husband's honor, both in presence and absence. Good character. A virtuous wife embodies good manners, kindness, and patience, fostering a nurturing environment for her family. Education for children. She is responsible for instilling Islamic values and good character in her children, prioritizing their spiritual growth over worldly success. Supportive role. A wife should provide comfort and happiness to her husband, enhancing his faith and well being. Now, you already heard that twice. In the Quran, it says supportive role, and in the Bible, it says faithfulness. So her trust in God guides her actions, providing strength and hope in challenges. And then in the Quran, it says supportive role. A wife should provide comfort and happiness to her husband, enhancing his faith and well being. Because a man under stress is like, it is like it puts him in self destructive mode and nothing gets done properly. It's like a man needs to be happy in order to be effective. So a woman needs to be that source. Well, not the source of his happiness because we are all responsible for our happiness, but at least in addition to his happiness, or a sense in his life. Because as he faces the world is a challenging place. There's ups and downs, there's challenges that the even when it's going through challenges, you need to be the first face. You need to be the first thing that comes to his mind. Because the Bible says so, which means because God says so. So let's look up the word obedient. So, like I said, submissive, tame, being put in your place, that is a synonym for obedience. So, obedient means complying or willing to comply with an order or request, submissive to any another authority. So, because the man is the head of the house, he deserves that respect. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a voice and you don't have a say so, but at least step out of your combative role and actually be willing to be cooperative and agreeable. Now, you don't have to say you disagree. You don't have to come with an attitude. Just come with a different suggestion. Come with your opinion. Come with your feelings. And if it's a good man, he'll be willing to listen to you. He would have that discipline and self control to actually hear you out. A relationship is a partnership, it's not a dictatorship. You should both be willing to hear one another out. You should both have that same respect for one another. A man submits to a woman's femininity, and a woman submits to a man's masculinity. That's how you have balance and harmony in a relationship. Okay, so these have scriptures attached to it, so I would like to actually go through these. So for wisdom and kindness, we'll be going through Proverbs 31:26. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. Now they say that the tongue is a wand. They say that the tongue brings the has the power of life and death. You can chop a man down with your tongue. And a lot of women understand this power and misuse it and abuse it. It is not something to be abused, but something to be honored. So, Titus, we have love and respect. Titus chapter 2, verse 4 to 5. Okay. I don't see it here. So, I'm gonna assume. Oh, I do see it. Hold on. Five eight four. Oh, sorry, it's a page. Titus chapter 2, verse 4 to 5. That they admonish the young women to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, homemakers, good, obedient to their own husband. To the husband? No, that's a difference. You gotta be obedient to your husband. That the word of God may not be blasphemed. Now, we've already discussed before that you don't necessarily have to be married before you meet your husband. The marriage, the wedding and whatnot, that is a government process. But you find your husband and wife spiritually first. You find your husband and wife astral realm first. Why not be obedient to your husband? Submission. Now, if he's just, if he's a righteous man, if he makes decisions for the good of the family, you and him, then what do you have to lose other than his respect? I mean, when you don't obey, you can lose his respect. What do you have to lose for obeying your husband, especially if it's a righteous man? Like, you'd get more than you could think of when you obey a man. That's how you earn his trust, by trusting him, by trusting him enough to make decisions for your well-being, for your better good. Submission is the next one. Ephesians 5 22. Ephesians 5, 22. Spiritual gifts. Ooh, new man. So 5 is walk in love. Oh, I didn't even read the ones for the other ones. 22. This one's called Marriage, Christ, and the Church. Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. So this one's saying submit to your husbands like you would God. That's not blindly. That's knowingly. Like you know, like okay, you're right. Okay, this is the best decision for the both of us. This takes a level of trust in you towards your husband, the level of trust in your husband. You have to trust that he knows best. You have to trust that you have to trust him as the head of the household. You have to trust him to make big decisions. You know, like a man deserves that level of trust. A man deserves, like it's on the tip of my tongue, like man know how to think. And good man knows how to make good decisions. And a righteous man has an authority beyond himself, has an authority higher than himself. So he's not just guided by his own thoughts, he's guided by the will of God. So when he is a godly man, it's God who is leading his decisions. So you should be able to trust the God in him. Be obedient to a godly man because he makes decisions through the will of God. Do you feel like you'd be more safe listening to a man and obeying a man who has God at the forefront of his mind, who is led by the will of God? I mean, I've seen or I've came across um, males who talk about being what do people say? It's like this spiritual freedom. Um, um, uh, what is it? like a wildflower, like yeah, it's this form of like spiritual freedom. And when some guys say that, that's a real flag to me, because in a way it's like, because Jezebel's a spirits too. And without structure, without discipline, you're just following your emotions. You're just following impulse. You have to have a sense of discernment when it comes to choosing man, because it's understandable to not feel safe trusting a man's decision when he is reckless in his manner, when he he spirals out of control, when he has no self-control or discipline. It's very difficult to trust a man who lies and deceives people to get what he wants. But when you're talking about a man of God, a righteous man, a good man, a husband, somebody who's fit to be a husband before the wedding ceremony, he deserves your obedience. He deserves your submission. He deserves your compliance. Let's look up compliance. Act in accordance with a wish or command. So command, authority, order, this is what some women ask for without saying these exact words. I want a man to be able to put me in my place. That is giving you a demand. That is giving you a command. That is giving you an order, and you need to listen. You need to be able to trust his masculine intuition. Masculine intuition is strong because it's from a higher place. Not to say that women's intuition is not from a higher place. It's more emotion based. A man's intuition is more logic based. A woman's intuition is of the heart and the womb. So spirit and the emotions, or intuition. So a knowing beyond knowing, that's a woman's intuition. Something doesn't feel right. But a man's intuition could pick up something a woman's intuition can. That's why you need to be able to listen. It's very important. And like I said, you need to have a sense of discernment to be able to discern what man to listen to and what man not to listen to. You gotta pay attention to patterns. So if his speech, what he says, doesn't line up with what he does, that's a red flag. If he is unreliable, if he keeps breaking promises, if he has empty promises, if you don't if you lose respect for his words, like if he says I'm gonna do something and automatically you think, okay, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna have to remind him, that's your indication that okay, his words hold no weight. It's difficult to be obedient to a man whose words hold no weight when he makes empty promises, when he's unreliable. You have to check and challenge him to make sure that he is who he says he is. I've noticed that I have a lot of male supporters, but my content is women based, women focused. In a sense, it's for them, but it's not. Trying to make women her, trying to make godly women of her, help us on our spiritual journey. Because a lot of us have fallen from grace, and the thing is about the algorithm, the women who need it aren't going to receive it. Diligence. A strong work ethic is essential. She manages household affairs wisely and works diligently. Proverbs 31:17. She grits herself. She grits herself with strength and strengthens her arms. Diligence. That's also a level of integrity. Because in Proverbs 31, it doesn't mention that she had to be obedient. This all seemed like this was her will to do. Faithfulness. Her trust in God guides her actions, providing strength and hope in challenges. 25. So this is still Proverbs 31, verse 25. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in times to come. This is given, say thank you in advance. Strength and honor are her clothing. Mm, that's powerful. Honor. But when strength, when strength is, when a woman is described to be strong, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but when I hear a woman's strength, I think emotional fortitude. Let's look up honor. High respect, great esteem. That means esteem means respect. That means she regards herself highly. She puts herself on a pedestal, not in an arrogant way, not in an arrogant or egotistic way. Meaning she doesn't measure up to her own height, but in a way where it's practical. The quality of knowledge, so a level of knowing who you are and doing what is morally right. Fulfill an obligation or keep an agreement. So yeah, a quality of knowing and doing what is morally right. And in a sense of honor, knowing who you are, knowing that you are great, knowing that you are smart. And how do you come to this point of knowing that you are what you say you are? You have to do. So when you, there's this gap between who you want to be and who you are and who you want to become. In order to have a certain level of respect for yourself, or mm, I want to be able to say this right because I don't want to say, oh, I'm going to respect myself when I am this or I have this. You respect yourself throughout the journey of becoming. It's just if you say, oh, I am this, and you never become it, how could you sustain that self respect when you haven't met your own standards? When you haven't measured up to your own expectations? You don't meet your own expectations, so how do you expect to sustain that level of honor and respect? People who listen to you wouldn't even be able to honor you the way you want to be honored because they don't see in you what you say you are. So that goes back to what I said about a man that you shouldn't trust or listen to when their words don't match up with their actions. So when you say, oh, I'm the best accountant in this firm, but you're never punctual, you never finish a case, or fumble in every meeting, you're never prepared, but you say you're the greatest, you say you're the best, but your reality says otherwise. You haven't yet came to a point where you have become who you said you are. So in order to sustain that self-respect, you need to come to a point where you are the greatest. And can't argue with that. People don't argue with results. People don't argue with people that they can't compete with. When you say you're the greatest and you're not, you put yourself in a position where people lose respect for you because your words don't line up with your actions. Now we are talking about honor or faithfulness. Her trust in God guides her actions, providing strength and hope in challenges. And it is challenging to become the greatest. It takes a lot of work. You need to have a level of self faith, knowing that you have the potential to become great, and then closing the gap. So, obedience and faithfulness. So, we're going to be moving over to the Quran. Righteous women are described as obedient and protective of their husband's honor, both in presence and absence. That means you need to know. You need to have a sense of knowing that he is who he says he is, and if anybody speaks against that, you are willing to back him with or without him there. So chapter 4, Surah 4, verse 34. Husbands are the protectors and maintainers of their wives, because Allah has given the one more strength. See, that's also another reason. You want protection? Well, you need to listen. Then than the other, and because they support them from their means. Therefore, the righteous women are devoutly obedient in the husband's absence, while Allah would have them guard. As to those women on whose part ye fear disloyalty and ill conduct, admonish them first. Next, refuse to share their beds, and last, spank them lightly. But if they return to obedience, seek not against them means or annoyance, for Allah is most high, great above you all. So I know this part will probably turn people off, but it's actually a 3-step process. You actually need to communicate first. Communicate, encourage, and if there's a level of defiance, if there is a level of unnecessary misconduct or disrespect, then there needs to be consequences. So this is just saying for the man, if you're if you're being reasonable, God's speaking through you, and your wife is being disobedient, then refuse to share a bed with her or have your back facing away from her when you sleep. And the last resort is a spanking. Now, this is not a, a, a B slap or, knocking somebody out cold or hitting them hard enough to leave a bruise. This is like a booty tap or something like that. I would accept a booty tap. Don't slap me in my face. Cause you not sleeping with me is not gonna be a choice. It's gonna be a request from me. I'll accept a booty tap as a spanking, and that's supposed to be the last resort. After you've already communicated and encouraged whatever the like, oh, I don't want you going, like, if you want to go to Middle East on a girl's trip without him, and he says no, but you really want to go, and you got the money, and you got your bags packed already, but he already told you no, and he's encouraging you not to go because it's dangerous, and he can't go with you right now. Just wait, and whatever, and you're just not hearing it. He has the right to punish you in a way where I'm not okay. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not sleeping with you. I'm not giving you no mind. I'm not paying you no mind. I'm not giving you any attention. He has the right to do that because you're being defiant. You're being disobedient. And the next is the last resort. Now moving on. Good character. A virtuous wife embodies good manners, kindness, and patience, fostering a nurturing environment for her family. So this is chapter 33, verse 35. For Muslim men and women, for believing men and women, for devout men and women, for true men and women, for men and women who are patient and constant, for men and women who humble themselves, for men and women who give in charity, for men and women who fast and deny themselves, deny their flesh. For men and women who guard their chastity, their purity, and for men and women who engage much in Allah's prayers, praying men and women, for them has Allah prepared forgiveness and great reward. Your blessings, you're deserving of your blessings when you are chaste, when you are prayed up, when you study the word of God, when you are humble, when you are modest, when you are devout, when you believe in God, when you have faith in God, when you are constant and patient. Patience could take years. You may some people don't want to wait seconds. These days attention is so skewed that some people can't wait seconds. But God needs you to be able to be patient for years. Education of children. She is responsible for instilling Islamic values and good character in her children. One doesn't have a verse or a chapter. But yeah, good character in our children, prioritizing their spiritual growth over worldly success. Because we are spirits in the flesh, right? Our bodies are just vessels, vehicles for our spirits to reside. So we need to be able to feed ourselves spiritually. We need to be able to feed our souls, feed our spirits, which doesn't require material gain. Now, there's a certain level of material gain, but material is just a tool. Say one thing off the top of my mind that feeds you spiritually is travel, but you need money to travel. So the means is to receive the physical gain, the to possess the physical material, but the ends is spiritual growth, to feed yourself spiritually, which is a righteous end, a godly end, or spiritual end, or charity. Charity also feeds you spiritually. Being kind, maybe even going above and beyond, um, putting water in, you know, developing a community or organization where people go into third world countries where they have to travel miles to collect water and back, and may have to take trips, may have to struggle just to provide water for the house. So creating an organization that that instills uh, pipes that go directly to the house so they don't have to walk miles just to go get water. That will fill your soul, helping out a community in need who don't have the resources, or they may be in a country that's colonized, so they may not have resources readily available to them, or they may not have the opportunity to provide those resources for their community. And then the last one is supportive role. A wife should provide comfort and happiness to her husband, enhancing his faith and well being. Now, I like to use Job's wife as an example. Job's wife is an example of what not to do. She was like, turn your back on God. That's what we're not doing. You need to be able to reinforce God in your household. You need to be able to redirect a man's attention or your family's attention back to the Word of God, or return them back to God's grace. Now, it's going on an hour, so I don't believe that I will have time to dive into other sacred texts. I did want to hop into Japanese texts. Um, so I think there's Hinduism, Buddhism, and Tripitaka. So you have Gojokiki or Gojoki, which talks about Izanami. Now, the story of Izanami sounds like the Big Bang Theory. It sounds like the story of Adam and Eve. It sounds like in the beginning there was the Word. There was three witnesses: the Spirit, water, and then there was blood. But in the beginning there was the Word. Be and it is. It sounded like that story. It sounded like the story of Ra, Newt, and Gab. Then it starts to sound like the story of Isis and Osiris. But Isis was the one who died. I mean, yeah. Izunami was the one who had the same fate as Osiris, sent to the underworld. And in the story of Isis and Osiris, Isis was the one who was looking for Osiris, but in this story, the man was the one who went looking for the woman. But that's still the story of love. It also sounds like the story of the original love, the origin of love. That's what it also sounds like. The origin of love. And then you have Varas. But yeah, I may have to get into these another time. I wouldn't want these the Bible study sessions to go on for too long. So I pray that you all stay blessed. Oh, and for administration purposes, please like, comment, share if you're feeling me, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace. Um, Today, we continued on the conversation of a virtuous woman and what it means to be a woman of virtue, a woman of high honor, dignity, and respect, who honors herself, who respects herself, who's obedient to her husband, not just any bum, not just any scrub, not just any dusty. We don't listen to dusties. We don't listen to grown boys. We don't listen to indecisive males. We don't listen to no good lambs, low lives, deceitful males, narcissists. We don't listen to these males. We don't listen to them. They don't deserve our obedience. They don't deserve our submission. We need to submit and obey to men who are deserving of our obedience and submission. Man of God, righteous man, godly man, man who consider other people's well-being and safety, a protected man, a man who takes his duties and roles as a husband and a provider seriously. He takes you seriously. He respects and honors and cherishes you enough to want you to also be safe. So when he tells you don't go here, don't go there, listen to his masculine intuition. He deserves that. And he deserves that from you. Be the symbol of love. Be the symbol of peace. When he's going through hard times, you need to be the first thing that comes to mind because you will put him back into his place. Now I'm going to leave it there. And I'll be seeing you guys next week. Peace.